Hello, everyone. Just some housekeeping things before we get started here. This is being recorded, so we will have this posted in the next week or so after this presentation. If you have any questions during this presentation, make sure you shoot them there in the Q&A section there on your screen. We have 7 financial aid and scholarship people here to answer those questions as I present. So if you have any, send them there and our people can answer them for us. This is a webinar, so you can hear and see me, but I cannot see or hear you. So if you do have anything, please send it in that Q&A section, and we can answer whatever questions you have. Hopefully I get them all answered here in this presentation, so you don't have to have any questions. But if you do, send them right there. We'll go ahead and give people another minute or two to get started. Let's get started, Mary. What do you say?
Sounds like a plan. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to our very first financial aid webinar for the 25-26 academic year. We're excited to have you here, and we look forward to working with you throughout the entire enrollment process. So whether you are an admitted student, if you are still a prospective student, or you've already chosen Texas Tech as your home for the next 4 years, we're excited to have you join us tonight. And we're here with many members of our financial aid and scholarship team to answer any questions you may have to help you navigate through the process so that you can have a school enrollment at the university. So joining us tonight is our fearless leader, Brooks Gustafson. He is our Associate Director for Outreach and Engagement. Brooks is going to walk us through a couple of slides, again, in hopes of answering your questions. But if you do have questions, as Brooks mentioned early on, please drop them into the Q&A section so that we can respond to you that way. And I will monitor the Q&A section of the webinar just to make sure that we're answering all the questions that you may have. We may answer some live if it's a repeat question over and over again. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Brooks.
Thank you. And last thing, in that Q&A, one of our you'll know it's a financial aid and scholarship employee. They'll have FAS, financial aid and scholarships, at the end of their name. So when you see that answer pop in, just know that's who it's coming from here. I'm going to kill my camera here to start this presentation. So what we're talking about today, where do I start? When do I start? How to maximize opportunities? Where should I be looking? Are all great questions for students maneuvering this process for the first time. And we're going to help answer those questions by figuring out what you're paying for, what your options are, and then what to do if your situation has changed. Also here are our future topics, some things that we're going to talk about over the next months leading up to you coming here for orientation in the summer and starting in August. So November 5th, internal and external scholarship presentation, the same setting, just we'll dive deeper into some scholarships. December 3rd, more about understanding the FAFSA. December 5th, so 2 days later, we'll talk about understanding the TASFA. We'll get into the difference between both of those today. January 7th, financial planning for parents. February 4th, financial planning for students. March 4th, we think it's going to be March 4th. We haven't nailed down that day. It's going to be in March, early in March. We're going to talk about student outcomes. We're going to have a member of the Career Center here on campus come to talk about what you are paying for as a tech student and what you're going to get out of Texas Tech after you graduate. And then last, April 3rd, you will all have aid offers by then, and then how you compare it to the cost of the university and of the school, and then how we're going to pay for those things later on. And you're going to sign up for those other webinars just like you signed up here through that admissions website through our virtual events tab. So that being said, let's get into this. So what you are paying for as a student is here. So when you see cost of attendance on our website, on any college's website, it's going to be 6 different things. You will see the 2 different sides here, Texas and bordering county of Texas residents, and then non-residents. So only difference here is going to be the difference between tuition and fees for our Texas residents and our non-Texas residents. The rest of these are all going to be the same, but you will see that total number down there at the bottom. Just know that there are differences, indirect versus direct costs. So here in our black squares are going to be our direct costs, things that you're actually going to pay to Texas Tech for your freshman year. So your freshman year, you're required to live on campus. So the things you're going to pay for, the classes you signed up for, are tuition and fees. We average a 15-hour per semester cost here. So these are yearly costs. 15 hours in the fall, 15 hours in the spring comes out to roughly $11,800. Non-residents, $24,451. We'll get into how to cover the difference between the two of these here in a few. Housing, so your freshman year, you'll be living in a dorm. Your dorm cost on campus will vary depending on what kind of dorm you live in, but this is a pretty good average here. And then our food. You will have to have a meal plan as a freshman. So the three things that are going to be on your bill: the tuition and fees, the dorm you're signed up for, and the meal plan you're signed up for. These other three, books and supplies, transportation, and miscellaneous, are things that you need to plan for as a student, but nothing that you have to pay directly to Texas Tech. So books and supplies are just the things that you need to be successful in the classes that you're taking. Transportation is going to be the cost to get from home to Lubbock, around Lubbock while you're a student here, back home for Thanksgiving and Christmas, those kind of things. And the miscellaneous is just anything else that's not included there. So concert ticket, if you're eating out at night, those kind of things outside of your meal plan, those kind of things are built into that miscellaneous costs. But just know when you see cost of attendance that there are direct and indirect costs, things that you're going to pay to Tech, and then things that you need to plan for. For you non-Texas residents, or non-residents of our bordering counties in New Mexico and Oklahoma, any competitive university scholarship, and we'll talk about those university scholarships here in a few slides, of $1,000 or more are going to qualify you for a waiver that covers the difference between non-resident tuition and resident tuition. So the difference there is it's just over $12,000. So a $1,000 scholarship for a non-resident student is going to be the $1,000 value of the scholarship and the $12,000 difference between that in-state and out-of-state tuition. So please know that you, if you do lose that scholarship after your freshman year, then you lose that waiver too. So please know there are new requirements, and we'll talk about those for our big merit scholarship program here in a second. But it can be from a university scholarship office, which is us, your college, or your department. So those kind of things are will come with your scholarships and things like that. So for you non-residents, that can be a crucial piece to paying for your time here as a student. The four different kinds of aid through the financial aid office are going to be grants, and you just have to fill out the FAFSA or the TASFA to qualify for those. Scholarships, there's a lot of different scholarships. We'll talk about those here in a second. Work study, so working as a student as you're going to school. And then loans. Don't talk about loans much today in this presentation, but once we get closer to that bill being due, we can get into some of our loan options. We're going to talk about how you maximize those other opportunities today. There are other things to help pay your balance. Military benefits we'll talk about here at the end. And then waivers. There are so many different waivers handled by our Student Business Service Office. There are too many to mention, but some that we have, valedictorian waivers. If you finish first in your class in the state of Texas will pay your tuition your freshman year. Adoption and foster care exemptions and waivers, Texas Workforce Commission, blind and deaf waivers, student disability waivers. There are so many out there. Student Business Services, or SBS, has that information on their website. The military benefits, things through the VA. We'll talk about some of those. So the financial aid picture kind of starts with your FAFSA. So filling out the FAFSA or the TASFA each year. So the FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. To be eligible to fill that out, you need to be a United States resident or a qualified non-resident. There are some different criteria there, but we can get into some of those. If you have questions, shoot that to the Q&A. The TASFA is for Texas Application for State Financial Aid. That is for Texas residents who are non-U.S. residents or non-permanent residents. So if you can fill out the FAFSA, no need to do the TASFA. The FAFSA is going to qualify you for federal, state, and university aid. The TASFA is going to qualify you for state or university aid. So again, if you can fill out the FAFSA, no need to do the TASFA. But if you don't qualify for the FAFSA, then fill out that TASFA application. The FAFSA and the TASFA are going to open on December 1st here in 2 months from today for the 25-26 school year. Our state priority deadline in the state of Texas is January 15th. So that opens December 1st, and we prefer that to be to us by January 15th. Submitting the FAFSA by January 15th is how you maximize your grant opportunities. So we only get allotted so much money from the state that we can spend it. So if you have your FAFSA in by that January 15th deadline, we guarantee that you are going to get anything that you qualify for. After that January 15th date, you can still submit your FAFSA, but you may miss out on some of those grant funds and some of those different things that we have that we may spend before that FAFSA gets to us. For students completing the FAFSA, you can create your FSA ID right now. I know the FAFSA isn't open, but you can create that login right now. The student and the contributor, so the parents of the students, or you can do that right there on studentaid.gov. When you create your FSA ID, it takes 2 or 3 days for that to process. So if you sit down on December 1st, ready to fill out your FAFSA, and you create your FSA ID, that's going to say, hey, come back in 2 or 3 days when we finalize your FSA ID. So you can get around by doing that now. You can log in and create those FSA IDs. The 2 or 3 days that it takes is just the Department of Ed verifying your identity. So make sure you log in and complete that now. So when the FAFSA opens in a couple months, you can knock that out. The student aid index is what the FAFSA or the TAFSA calculates. Parents that have done the FAFSA or have done the FAFSA with older students, this student aid index has replaced the estimated family contribution. They made that update for this school year that we just started. So SEI is just an index number that we use to determine financial aid eligibility. We compare the student aid index, or the SEI, with the cost of attendance to calculate your financial need. It'll be presented to you as a dollar amount when you see that student aid index, which can be misleading. But just know that is not the amount that you have to pay for school. It is not the amount of aid that you're getting. That's an index number that allows us to calculate how much financial need you have. And we go to all the different grant funds, the federal and state grant funds, to calculate how much aid you were eligible for. So it can be misleading, but just know that it's not the amount that you pay for school or the aid that you're receiving. The SAI is calculating all the information submitted as part of the FAFSA or TAFSA. Everything that you put in there goes into this calculation that spits out the student aid index, or SAI. All of that information gets pulled on the FAFSA. It pulls right through your FAFSA using the direct data exchange. So 2-year prior tax information, taxed and untaxed income, assets, benefits, and household size. With the new FAFSA, they completely overhauled it last year. But the big change was that you didn't have to sit down with your tax forms in front of you like you used to. Nowadays, you just say yes to the direct data exchange. It pulls all your information right over from the IRS, those taxes that you filed a couple of years prior, and allows you to move through the FAFSA quicker, allows the information to be accurate, no typos, those kind of things. And so making sure that you say yes to that direct data exchange is only going to make your life easier. You've already filed those taxes, no need to pull them out again. Because the FAFSA uses 2-year prior tax information, things can change within your household. You do need to complete the FAFSA the way that it asks, even if you know that something has changed. So for the 2025 school year, it's going to use 2023 tax information. If you know something has changed between when you filed those taxes and when you filed that FAFSA, or when you start here as a student, you can complete the special circumstance form. So if there was loss of employment with the student or parent, separation or divorce within the household, medical expenses outside of insurance, and then death of a spouse or parent, on our financial aid website, you can find this special circumstance form. It allows us to take the FAFSA, take the information from 2 years prior, update it to what it is now, recalculate that student aid index, and hopefully get you some more financial aid representative of what your situation is now, rather than what it was 2 years ago. So there's a lot of information here. We're not getting into all of it, but some common misconceptions with the FAFSA is that once students go to college, they are going to be independent. In the eyes of the FAFSA, that might not be the case. So you will hear that referred to as an unusual circumstance or a dependency change. So students, you are not independent. With the parent's refusal to pay for college, parent's refusal to provide information on the FAFSA, inability to claim a student as a dependent for income tax purposes, or students' inability to demonstrate self-sufficiency. So Those kind of things are things that we get a lot of questions about. So just wanted to get out in front of it here. But unless you can say yes to any of these questions here at the bottom of the screen, then you will need to fill out your FAFSA with your parent information. There's a lot here. It can be found right here on our financial aid website. Red Raider Guarantee. This is Texas Tech guarantee to cover your tuition and fees up to 30 credit hours per year. So 15 in the fall, 15 in the spring, through a combination of grants and scholarships. As a student, all you can do to control this, to make sure that you get reviewed for this, is submitting that FAFSA to us by that state priority deadline of January 15th. Please know that the FAFSA takes a day or two to get to us, so don't fill it out at midnight on January 14th thinking that it's going to get to us in time. Make sure you give yourself some time for that to get processed through Department of Ed and get to us. So all you need to do is have that FAFSA completed and be admitted to Texas Tech by January 15th. All the rest of this information we're going to pull from your FAFSA or your admissions application. So the two things that you can do, make sure you have that FAFSA and the admissions application done by that state priority deadline of January 15th. The other things we're going to review: family adjusted gross income of $65,000 or less, and then you being enrolled full-time. Again, the income is something that we will pull from the FAFSA. Entering first year students are going to be reviewed if you meet all these criteria, but please, the question we get a lot right before the school year is about this, and usually it's because they didn't meet that January 15th deadline. So please make sure you have that FAFSA completed to Texas Tech and you're admitted to Texas Tech before that January 15th date. If not, then you won't be reviewed for this Red Raider guarantee. This Red Raider guarantee is just making sure that we have enough grants and scholarships and everything to cover your tuition and fees your freshman year. Nothing you need to do. Separate application to be reviewed for this. Texas Tech scholarships, so internal to Tech scholarships, you apply as a first year student to these scholarships within your admissions application. It's built right into your Common App for Apply Texas. It's like 8 or 10 questions right at the very end of your application, and applies you to everything on campus. Anything through the university office, anything through your college, anything through your department. So let's say you're a Rawls College of Business student within the finance department. The Rawls is going to review you, and the finance department will review you, all as part of your application. Nothing you need to do separate your freshman year to apply to internal Texas Tech scholarships, all built right into your admissions application. Each year going forward, you will apply to the continuing student application. So your freshman year, that application will, you'll fill that out for your sophomore year, for your junior year, and so on. So, but again, your first year on campus, you apply to every scholarship based right through your admissions application. So for you incoming freshmen, this is our Freshman Merit Scholarship Program. You may see it written as the Presidential Merit Scholarship Program also. 2 different ways to apply here. If you apply test optional on your admissions application, then you're going to be reviewed just based on your high school unweighted GPA. These will come as part of your transcripts when you apply to Texas Tech. If you apply test optional, it's just going to use the bottom line of that grid there, using that unweighted high school GPA at the top. So let's say you're a 3.8 student and you apply test optional, you're going to receive that $2,000 scholarship once you get admitted. We'll have these merit awards on your account probably a week or 2 after you get admitted. Our scholarship office has been knocking these out as soon as they get accepted. So, and then if you applied with test scores, it's going to be the combination of your unweighted GPA and your super scored test score. So let's say same 3.8 student, and you have a 1,300 SAT score, you're going to receive a $4,500 scholarship from us. You have until April 1st to keep submitting transcripts to us if your GPA changed, and new test scores to us. Those have to be to us by April 1st. As long as they are, we're going to keep reviewing you for those scholarships and keep upgrading that scholarship amount. For this program, we review students based on a super score of SAT and ACT, not just the best score. So let's say you take the SAT 3 times. We're going to look at all 3 of your math sections, pick the highest one, all 3 of your English sections, pick the highest one, and all 3 of your reading sections, pick the highest one. We're going to add those 3 together. So never going to downgrade your score if you send us a test with a lower grade. But please submit those to us, and we will review you every time that we get them in, up until April 1st. And then these renewal requirements down here at the bottom right is how you're going to keep that award as you move forward as a student. So your freshman year, you earn it based on your GPA and your test score. Your sophomore, junior, senior year, you keep that scholarship based on those renewal requirements. So whatever the dollar amount is that you get, we'll have a GPA and a 30 Texas Tech hour requirement. Those TTU hours add up between the fall, the spring, and the summer. So if you knock out 30 between the fall and spring, nothing you need to do in the summer. But if you want to take fall, spring, and summer classes to add up to that 30-hour total, as long as you meet that GPA requirement, then that scholarship is going to be on your account for the next year. Transfer students, so students that stop somewhere between high school and Texas Tech are going to be reviewed under these transfer student scholarships. So you graduate high school, you stop at a local junior college or another four-year school before you come to Texas Tech, you fall into this transfer student population. If you're coming straight from high school to Texas Tech, you get reviewed as part of our freshman scholarship program. I know a lot of you are going to bring a bunch of dual credit hours with you. If you come straight from high school to Texas Tech, you're going to fall into that freshman population rather than the student transfer population. So transfer students, you get reviewed based on the transferable GPA hours you have and the GPA within those hours. So 30 hours and a 3.0 GPA gets you a $3,000 scholarship for a year. 60 transferable GPA hours and a 3.5 qualify you for that $4,000 scholarship award. And then these are renewed on a term-by-term basis rather than that yearly total like the freshman hours. External scholarships, so anything outside of Texas Tech, we're going to consider an external scholarship. So these are going to require separate applications through those different donors. We recommend you complete 3 or 4 applications per week. The more you apply for, the more you're going to bring with you when you start here as a student. And then just keep track of what you applied for. As a freshman, a lot of students bring in a lot of external scholarships because of the organizations and things that they're involved in their senior year of high school. But make sure you keep track of what you applied for so you can reapply each year. We want to make sure that you keep that money for as long as you're a Tech student. And I would hate for you to lose that just because you missed the deadline to reapply your freshman year. Where to look? There's so many places out there. Our Texas Tech Parent Association and Texas Tech Alumni Association. Yes, Texas Tech organizations, but their applications are outside of the university. The Terry Foundation has a really cool scholarship you can do some research on based out of Houston. If you are a part of a team or a club or any groups, church groups, academic groups, anything like that you're a part of in high school, make sure you're asking for scholarship applications. There are a lot out there. Students and parents, your employers have scholarships. Students, I know that places like Chick-fil-A and Starbucks and H-E-B and those kind of places have scholarship applications for students. Make sure you're asking about those. There are plenty of websites and apps out there. Going Merry, FastWeb, College Board are 3 that I found. You can get on there and kind of create an account about who you are as a student, and then they send you all the different applications that you need. So these scholarships add right on top of whatever you get through the FAFSA, whatever internal scholarships from Texas Tech you get. The more of these that you can bring with you, the better off you're going to be. Work study is just that. Working while you're a student. Parents, we're not going to overwork your students. Only 20 hours a week through this work study program. You can get on there and look at some of those jobs. They are all over the place on campus. You can work right here in the financial aid office. You can lifeguard at the pool. You can do some hardcore chemistry lab research. There are so many different jobs listed there on that work study website. And you can get on there and compare all of the different wages, whether it's on or off campus. Most of them are going to be on campus. So freshmen, you're living in a dorm, you're taking classes on campus, working 20 hours a week on campus, putting some money in your pocket is a great thing. So please make sure you explore your options as a student. And again, only 20 hours a week, nothing crazy. You're not going to get overworked as a work study on campus here. VA benefits. So our military and veterans programs handle all of our VA benefits. The MVP office, you can see their website right there, mvp.ttu.edu, military and veterans programs. There are a lot of different VA benefits. I am not an expert in them. That's why our military and veterans office, MVP office exists. So if you do have questions about these federal benefits, Chapter 33, Chapter 35, there are a lot of different options there. Post 9/11, Texas state benefits, the Hazelwood Act is another one. If you have these questions, please go to MVP. They know a lot more about it than we do. We get a lot of questions about it, but these kind of things can be handled by them. They are much more knowledgeable about this. I believe that they do not take your information until you are registered for classes. So when you come for orientation, one of the things you do as part of orientation is register for classes. So you can call them now, make sure you have all the information you need when you come this summer for orientation. But there are a lot of students on campus that really receive these VA benefits. So federal, state benefits all go right in with the financial aid that you get to help pay that bill. Who to contact for help? Your financial aid advisor. Once you have applied and been admitted, you will be able to log in to see who your financial aid advisor is. If you are not admitted yet, you can shoot an email to our finaid.advisor@ttu.edu email address. Our phone number is right here. All the different websites. We're going to be doing these webinars once a month until April or May. So make sure you come back. We can answer some of those questions you have. And then we have a walk-up counter on campus. If you are on campus taking a visit or want to swing by, we are open 9 to 4 Monday through Friday. We can help talk you through whatever questions that you have. But that is all I have for today. Mary, do we have any repeat questions that we need to clarify or anything like that? Let me see here.
Hi, Brooks. Yes, if you don't mind, can you walk through the scholarship page just one more time to make sure? Yes, both for the incoming and for transfer students, just one more time.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for these incoming freshman students, you get reviewed as part of your application to Texas Tech. So it's built right into your admissions application. Once you apply, either test optional or with test scores, then you will be reviewed for scholarships. So the different dollar amounts here, wherever the two sections meet, are going to be the dollar amount that you have. So your high school unweighted GPA and your SAT and ACT score. And again, we use that super score. So between your all of your different tests that you take, if you send those to us, our admissions office has a way that they can convert SAT and ACT scores to a similar number, and then we add that up and create that merit or that super SAT score that we have. And then high school unweighted GPA is just something that comes in with your high school transcripts. If your high school doesn't have a calculated unweighted GPA, and our admissions office has a way that they can calculate it. Absolutely. For our transfer student scholarships, this is just going to be the term that you sign up for. I saw a question about if you come later, spring 25 rather than fall 25 or spring 26, those kind of things. The transfer scholarships, same with those merit scholarships, are going to be reviewed for the term that you start. So these are yearly dollar amounts. So if you start in the spring, you're going to get the spring half of this amount, but it's based on the transcripts that you send to us. So based on your transferable hours and the GPA within those hours, you will be awarded.
Thank you for that. And then we have another question about clarifying more on the SAI index. Can you talk a little bit more about what that means?
Here we go. So the student aid index is just what the FAFSA calculates. So all the different information that you put into your FAFSA, student income, parent income, assets, household size, those kind of things are all submitted as part of the FAFSA. The Department of Ed takes all that information, puts it into a big crazy number. They spit out the big crazy calculator, spits out a student aid index number. That index number is how we will award our different grants and things on campus. So different federal programs have different ranges of student aid index. Different state programs have different ranges. Whatever you qualify for based on your student aid index is how we're going to know what you qualify for and how much of that program that you qualify for.
Thank you for that. I'm just going through the questions to see if there are any other general questions that you can answer. So can you talk a little bit more about, so students are asking if you have a merit scholarship through our regular program for the first year of transfer, and can you receive departmental scholarships on top of that merit scholarship?
Absolutely. So all of the different departments and colleges on campus award their scholarships separate from us. It's that same central application, but the department and the college are going to award theirs based on their own criteria. We're going to base ours on that merit program that we have, as well as some others in our office. But anything through your college, anything through your department is going to add right on top of whatever you get from the financial aid office, financial aid and scholarship office here.
Thank you for that. And then I have another question about the SAI. What does a negative 1,500 SAI mean in terms of aid eligibility?
Sure. That is going to mean that you're going to qualify for the max amount of financial aid that you can as a student. The range is from minus 1,500 all the way up to 999,000. All of those things are built right in. Once we get that, once you complete the FAFSA, you list Texas Tech on there. It gets sent to us once we begin awarding our financial aid. You're going to have everything that you qualify for will be built right into that award offer that you get from us at the end of December or early in January.
Okay, and then another question about filing the FAFSA. Would you say that regardless of income, everyone should file the FAFSA, or is it worth not filing the FAFSA if you have a certain income?
Totally up to you on completing the FAFSA. In this, there are certain states. Texas is one of those that requires you complete the FAFSA as part of your high school graduation requirements. They'll hold that diploma unless you have filled out the FAFSA. So I know there are 8 or 10 other states that have that requirement too. So completing it once just to see what you qualify for is definitely something I would do. If you don't want to have to fill it out later on, you don't have to. I'm totally up to you. But in the state of Texas, it is a requirement for high school students. I recommend you do it once. If you don't qualify for anything, it's a safe backup plan if something were to happen financially throughout the year. There will be some things that we can update through your FAFSA to hopefully qualify you for aid. But if you don't submit your FAFSA and then those things happen, then there's very little we can do.
Okay, and then another question, is there a timeline of when we're going to start to notify students of merit scholarships?
Yeah, the merit scholarships come pretty quick after you get accepted. The way that you see those, though, is completing the steps within your admitted student task list. You'll set up your RadarLink account. You'll set up your Texas Tech email. That way you can log in and see the aid amount that you get through your merit scholarship. Let me go to that slide here. These awards are made by our scholarship office every day. They get a list of students that have been admitted and fit these, and they once you get admitted, you have that checklist. You can create your account so you can log in and see the dollar amount that you have.
Okay. So another question about SAI. So these are coming in fast and furiously. So thank you very much for your participation, audience. If there are multiple students in college in the same household, will that affect the amount of financial aid each person receives?
It used to. With the old FAFSA is the answer. Part of the updated FAFSA is that they took that piece of the FAFSA out. Before Department of Ed updated the FAFSA, it did get included. Once we have the FAFSA, you can file a special circumstance form to tell us how the different there are multiple students in college is affecting you, and hopefully we can help reduce that student aid index number with right information, and we can hopefully qualify you for lower that SAI and hopefully qualify you for some more aid.
So another question around SAI, if I have a negative 1,500 SAI, does that mean I qualify for a full ride scholarship, Or does that mean I qualify for maximum federal financial aid?
Yeah, so the not a full ride scholarship is the answer. You're going to qualify for enough to cover your tuition and fees. Everything that usually is part of that negative 1,500 SAI is qualifying for our Red Raider guarantee, which is enough to cover for your tuition and fees. Through the Pell Grants and scholarships and Texas grants, those kind of things, you're going to have more than enough to pay your class load, your 15 hours or whatever it is that you take as a freshman per semester. But with that comes your enough to cover your tuition and fees. So not technically a full ride scholarship, but enough to cover your bill.
And is that for both in-state and out-of-state students?
In-state students, yes. The out-of-state cost of attendance is a little different. If you're qualifying for those scholarships that cover that in-state tuition or that out-of-state, the difference between the in-state and out-of-state tuition, then yes, absolutely, you'll have enough. Again, all you need to do that is that $1,000 scholarship to cover part of your bill, and then that waiver that covers the difference between in-state and out-of-state, on top of all the federal aid you get to cover that cost.
Very good. And then we have another question about dependency. Can you walk through what qualifies a student to be an independent student for the purposes of federal financial aid?
Sure. Yeah. The Department of Ed is pretty particular about who is independent and who is not. So if you can answer yes to any of these questions here at the bottom, then you are considered an independent student. So 24 years of age or older, married, pursuing a master's or doctorate degree, so have completed your undergraduate, active duty military or veteran, if you support dependent children of your own, or support dependents other than your children who live with you, in foster care or orphaned, or a dependent ward of the court prior to the age of 13, emancipated minor, and again, to be that, it's determined by the court in the state of your legal residence, in a legal guardianship, or in the last year determined to be unaccompanied youth who is homeless or self-supporting or at risk of being homeless. If you can answer yes to any of those questions, then you are considered an independent student. Yep.
Okay. That looks like it covers all the questions that are coming through. I mean, there are other questions. If you want to drop your questions into the Q&A to get a direct response, you should do that. We will hang out for a few more minutes to answer any remaining questions that may be out there. But I think that covers all of the questions, the general questions that we have. These other ones look a little specific.
Juan, to answer your question here in the chat, yes. So if you get admitted with less than 60 hours, but before you start, you get us a transcript that shows us that you have 60 hours and meet that bigger of the two transfer scholarships, and absolutely, we're gonna review whatever that last transcript is that you transferred in with. That's for the transfer scholarship. Albert, in the Q&A, we this Q&A will stop when the Zoom stops, but ask your questions here and we can answer them before we stop this here.
Of course, we have one other question I think the whole group might benefit from hearing. The students indicated they logged into their account to try to see their financial aid information and saw that the aid years are not active for 25-26.
I don't know. I haven't seen that error yet. I assume that will be something that we will have live in the next week or so. I know that we've been making those awards, and so you being able to see that is a thing that you absolutely need to do. So I will ask the right people tomorrow, and we will get that, make sure that's activated so you can log in and see that dollar amount that you have. Also, if you want to, if you can't log in, you've done everything you need to and you can't, shoot us an email. We'll be able to pull up your account on our end, and we can tell you what your dollar amount is that's been awarded to you. Absolutely. That contact information is right here at the very end. That finaid.advisor will be a great place for you to do that. Make sure that you specify that you are a 25-26 student.
And as a gentle reminder to the group, we will be posting this webinar with all the slides associated with it. So you will have access to it online. And if you have questions following it, as Brooks was mentioning, feel free to email us at finaid.advisor@ttu.edu, and we'll be happy to assist you in any way possible. So Brooks, another question that came up, has financial aid been awarded for incoming freshmen who haven't completed the FAFSA, which doesn't open until December 1st?
Yes, we have only awarded merit scholarships for those who have been accepted and have got test scores and transcripts to us. The full, complete financial aid picture will come after that FAFSA is completed, after you've been admitted, after all those things happen. So just the merit scholarships right now, the full financial aid picture, all those grants and anything like that you qualify for through the FAFSA or the TASFA will come later in the year after that FAFSA opens. So after December 1st, we hope to have those out at the end of December, mid to late December, or definitely out right after the new year. I can talk about Red Rider Guarantee again. Let's do that. So Red Rider Guarantee, if you meet any of these requirements here, again, the only thing you can do to control your side of this is making sure that admissions application and that FAFSA are to us by that state priority deadline, January 15th. If you meet those two requirements, you will be on our list to review right after that January 15th deadline. That Red Rider Guarantee is just us making sure that you have enough financial aid to cover your cost of tuition and fees as a student, up to 30 hours a year. So 15 in the fall, 15 in the spring. The rest of these things we're going to pull straight from your FAFSA. So the adjusted gross family income, and then just making sure that you are enrolled full-time is something that we can do through our Texas Tech systems. But Red Rider Guarantee is just us making sure that you have enough aid to cover your cost of tuition and fees up to 30 hours a year. So with the Red Rider Guarantee, it uses the FAFSA. It uses any aid that you get through the FAFSA. We're just making sure that you have enough combination of scholarships and grants to cover that tuition. It's not going to be a single dollar amount called Red Rider Guarantee. It's going to be a combination of all the different grants and scholarships and things that we have. We're just making sure that you have enough on your account to cover that. So to answer your question about is Red Rider Guarantee and FAFSA two separate things, it is one. Anything you get through the FAFSA, anything you get through us is going to be added together to make sure that you have enough to cover that Red Rider Guarantee. Let's get these last couple of questions answered here. Josh, to answer your question, make sure that you've done everything you need to within that admitted student checklist that you get. Setting up your RadarLink account, setting up your TTU email address will be two things that you can do. Once you have those things, you can log in and view that scholarship amount you have. If you've done that and you still can't see it, then yes, absolutely reach out and we can let you know what that merit dollar amount is.
So Brooks, was there a screen that you showed that had other places where you can apply for scholarships through TTU?
Sure. Well, for the Texas Tech scholarships, you apply to everything right through your admissions application. So everything's built right in. University scholarships, college scholarships, and departmental scholarships all built right into that application. So nothing you need to do separate to get scholarships from Texas Tech. So for our external scholarships, that is going to be applications that you are going to have to go out there and find anything through your through all the different groups and departments that you're a part of, or sorry, groups and teams and those kind of things that you're a part of outside of Texas Tech. So everything through the university, through your college, through your department are built right in. Nothing separate that you need to do.
Thank you.
Yeah. To answer the question about us not having SAT or ACT yet, those are received by our admissions office. If you submit it through Common App, I know it takes some time to get from when you complete the test to Texas Tech. If you completed that test a long time ago and it still hasn't got to us, then I would make sure you log into that Common App account that you have and make sure that it was submitted to Texas Tech. There are different places that it could have gone wrong, but make sure that you've submitted it through Common App. Make sure that Texas Tech is listed on there. If not, then you can send it there. And then might be something on the Texas Tech side. So if you get into Common App, your account, and you see that it hasn't gotten to us yet, and it looks like everything's done on their end, reach out to our admissions office, your admissions counselor, and they will be able to see what's going on from the Texas Tech admissions side. That's here your question about being an independent. You're talking about transferring after your freshman year. If you have not graduated, if you're not 24, any of those things, and you're still going to be considered a dependent student in the eyes of the FAFSA. You talked about going on to do master's school or grad school or PhD. You will be an independent student when you start grad school, when you start your doctorate after you graduated. But while you're an undergrad, if you're still under 24, not married, not a veteran, those kind of things, then you will be considered a dependent student in the eyes of the FAFSA. Looks like that's it. Thank you all for coming today. Looks like we had up to 100, more than 100 at the peak there. So thank you for coming. We'll be doing this once a month for up until May, different topics within financial aid. So make sure you come back, but this will be recorded and put online so you can watch it later on. So thank you all for coming today. Happy Tuesday. It's October 1st. Hope to see you all in red and black soon. Rock 'em.